The silent vanguard. The galaxy had always considered Earth a curiosity, a noisy blue planet populated by emotional beings too busy fighting among themselves to be taken seriously. When humanity finally achieved faster-than-light travel and joined the galactic community, the established powers viewed them as little more than primitives with lucky technology. The Meridian Alliance, a coalition of 12 advanced species, saw Earth as an opportunity. They arrived with smiles and treaties, promising guidance and protection. What they delivered was exploitation. Human colonies were stripped of resources, Earth's airspace became regulated by alien patrols, and mankind's expansion was constrained by arbitrary restrictions, all in the name of galactic stability. Captain Elena Reyes stood on the bridge of the EF's Nightshade, her expression unreadable as she studied the holographic display of Meridian Prime, the Alliance's capital world. Once, she'd been an ambassador, believing in diplomatic solutions. That was before she watched Alliance peacekeepers massacre protesters on Europa. Before the Meridian Council laughed when Earth issued its final warning. They think we're bluffing, her XO, Lieutenant Kowalski, observed bitterly. They won't be laughing much longer, Elena replied, her voice steady. Status report on the fleet deployment. All vessels in position, Captain. 117 jump points covered. Project Umbra is ready for activation on your command. For 30 years, Earth had appeared to accept its place, all while building in secret. While alien observers monitored Earth's official shipyards, vast facilities hidden in the asteroid belt and beneath Europa's ice-constructed vessels, unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Ships that bent light around their hulls. Weapons that didn't just destroy, they isolated. The Nightshade was just one of them, a stealth dreadnought twice the size of anything Earth had officially fielded, yet invisible to standard scanners. And it carried something even more dangerous, the culmination of Project Umbra. Elena opened a secure channel to Earth Command. Admiral Hassan's weathered face appeared on screen. Captain Reyes. His everything in position. Yes, Admiral. We await your order. The Admiral's eyes carried the weight of what was coming. The Council's response to our ultimatum was clear. They've left us no choice. She paused. You may proceed with Umbra. Operation Blackout commences now. Elena nodded and closed the channel. The bridge crew watched her in tense silence. They all knew what this meant. Lieutenant, activate Umbra. Target Proxima Station first. Proxima Station was the Alliance's premier communications hub at the edge of human space, the perfect demonstration. The Nightshade released a swarm of small, autonomous drones that accelerated toward the massive station. They weren't weapons in the traditional sense. They didn't explode or fire upon the station. They simply attached to its hull and activated. Across Proxima Station, every communication system went dead. Every ship docked there suddenly found itself unable to access the jump network. Quantum signals collapsed. Emergency beacons failed. The busiest transit hub in this sector of space went completely dark. And it was just the beginning. Within hours, reports flooded in from across Alliance space as human vessels, ships no one had known existed, appeared at every major jump point and deployed Umbra devices. Strategic communications hubs went silent. Military command centers lost contact with their fleets. Trade routes were severed. The galaxy that had laughed at Earth's warnings now found itself fragmented, isolated, unable to coordinate a response. On Meridian Prime, the Council of 12 convened an emergency session. High Chancellor Thozarin, whose dismissive laughter had been broadcast across human colonies when Earth issued its ultimatum, now paced the chamber in agitation. How is this possible? He demanded. Their technological level was assessed. They shouldn't have capabilities like this. A holographic projection flickered to life in the center of the chamber, the only communication that seemed able to penetrate the spreading darkness. Admiral Hassan's face appeared, calm and resolute. This is Earth Command to the Meridian Council. By now you understand that we were not bluffing. Every major jump point in Alliance space is now under Earth control. Your worlds are isolated. Your fleets fragmented. This is not an act of war, yet. This is a demonstration of resolve. Phosren stepped forward. This is outrageous. You cannot hold an entire Galactic Alliance hostage. We're not holding you hostage, Chancellor. We're simply enforcing the sovereignty you denied us. The exploitation ends today. The unfair treaties end today. Earth and her colonies will no longer be subject to your guidance. You expect us to simply acquiesce to demands under threat. Another counselor shouted. Admiral Hassan's expression didn't change. No, we expect you to negotiate, fairly, for once. Representatives from Earth will arrive on Meridian Prime in 48 hours. They will present our terms. Until then, reflect on how quickly your alliance has been paralyzed, and consider whether continuing to underestimate humanity is wise. The transmission cut. In the stunned silence that followed, an aide rushed into the chamber. Chancellor, we're receiving reports from across the Alliance. The humans have deployed some kind of interdiction field. No ships can activate jump drives within its radius. How many vessels are enforcing this blockade? Phosren demanded. That's just it, sir. We don't know. Our sensors can't detect them. They're just there. The aide swallowed hard. And sir, the Krell attempted to break through at Sector 7. Their battlecruiser was. It just disappeared. No debris, no energy signature. Just gone. The Krell, the most militaristic species in the Alliance. Their battlecruisers were considered unstoppable. In her quarters aboard the Nightshade, Alina reviewed the deployment logs. 100% success rate. No casualties on either side, except for the Krell ship that had tested their resolve. The quantum displacement field had worked exactly as designed, shunting the vessel into a parallel dimension from which it would never return. A demonstration, but a necessary one. The galaxy needed to understand that Earth would no longer be trifled with. Her terminal chimed. A message from Dr. Aisha Okafor, the physicist responsible for Project Umbra's theoretical framework. The message was simple. What have we done, Alina? Alina didn't respond immediately. They'd been friends once, before the occupation. Before Alina lost her family on Mars when the Alliance peacekeepers opened fire on protesters. Aisha had created the technology to protect humanity, but had never wanted to see it used. What we had to, Alina finally typed back. They left us no choice. The reply came quickly. There's always a choice. Alina closed her eyes. Maybe there had been, once. But the Alliance had made its choice when it decided Earth was too weak to fight back. Now they would learn how wrong they'd been. As the Nightshade maintained its position above Meridian Prime, Alina watched the planetary defense grid scan fruitlessly for their presence. The ship's quantum stealth field, another Earth innovation kept hidden from alien eyes, rendered them completely invisible. Captain, Lieutenant Kowalski reported, we're receiving a transmission from Earth Command. Commander Wei has arrived at the rendezvous point with the diplomatic team. They're ready to proceed to Meridian Prime. Commander Lin Wei, Earth's most decorated officer and the architect of Operation Blackout. The diplomatic team would present Earth's terms, but Wei would be there to make sure the Council understood the consequences of refusal. Acknowledge receipt, Alina ordered, and prepare to escort them in. Let's make sure the Alliance gets a good look at us this time. Soon, the game of shadows would end. Earth would step into the light, not as a subject race, but as a power to be reckoned with. And the galaxy would never be the same. Part 2. Reckoning Dawn. Commander Lin Wei stood before the Meridian Council, her military uniform stark against the ornate chamber. Unlike Captain Rice, Wei had never served as a diplomat. She was a soldier, the daughter of farmers whose land had been appropriated for an Alliance cultural exchange center. She had no interest in appearing conciliatory. You're wondering how we did it, she began without preamble. How Earth, which you assessed as technologically inferior, managed to paralyze your entire alliance in less than a day. High Chancellor Thosren's facial ridges flushed dark with anger. You've committed an act of war. No, Wei cut him off. We've committed an act of sovereignty. You committed the war acts when you stripped our colonies, when you shot our civilians, when you carved up our system like spoils. She activated a holographic display showing a network of human vessels positioned throughout Alliance space. For 30 years, you saw what we wanted you to see. You monitored our official shipyards and laboratories while we built elsewhere. You thought us divided and weak because we argued openly in your presence, never realizing that was the distraction. The Earth diplomatic team, standing behind Wei, remained silent. They held the terms, but Wei held the Council's attention. Project Umbra was just one of many contingencies we developed. The quantum interdiction field prevents your ships from jumping. The disruption network isolates your communications. And yes, we have weapons that can remove your vessels from this reality entirely, as the Krell discovered. A reptilian counselor hissed. The Krell battlecruiser had 5,000 souls aboard, and your peacekeepers killed 50,000 on Mars. Wei replied coldly. We didn't want bloodshed. We still don't. That's why we're here with terms rather than demands for surrender. Across Alliance space, planetary systems were coming to terms with their new reality. Some attempted to break the blockade, using conventional drives to approach the human vessels. They found the ships impossible to target, as if they existed in a different phase of reality. Others tried to send messenger vessels through uncharted routes, only to find human drones waiting there too. On Earth, Dr. Aisha Okafor sat in her laboratory beneath the Pacific Ocean, monitoring the deployment of her creation. The quantum interdiction field had been designed as a defense, a way to prevent alien vessels from jumping into Earth space uninvited. She had never imagined it being used to isolate entire worlds. Director Okafor, her assistant's voice interrupted her thoughts. We're receiving telemetry from the Sentinel sector. The Sentinels, a reclusive species that had kept their distance from both Earth and the Alliance. According to intelligence, they possess technology that might be capable of counteracting Umbra, if they decided to intervene on the Alliance's behalf. But the data showed something unexpected. Sentinel vessels were moving, not to counter Earth's blockade, but to establish a perimeter around their own territory. They weren't fighting the isolation. They were reinforcing it. Send this to Commander Wei immediately, Aisha ordered. On Meridian Prime, Wei received the update during a recess in the negotiations. She allowed herself a small smile. The Sentinels had always been wary of the Alliance's expansionist tendencies. They saw Earth's move not as aggression, but as an opportunity to rebalance power. When the Council reconvened, Wei had a new card to play. We've received communication from the Sentinel Collective, she announced. They recognize Earth's sovereignty and support our right to renegotiate our position in the galaxy. They've offered technological exchange once new treaties are established. A council chamber erupted in chaos. The Sentinels had rebuffed Alliance overtures for centuries, yet now they reached out to humans. It was unthinkable. Enough, Thosren shouted, bringing order. What exactly do you want, Commander? Wade nodded to the diplomatic team. Ambassador Julia Mbeki stepped forward with a data crystal. Complete withdrawal of Alliance forces from Earth's solar system. Recognition of Earth's sovereignty over all its colonies. Reparations for resources extracted under the previous treaties. And a seat on the Council, with full voting rights. Preposterous, a counselor shouted. You cannot force your way onto the Council through military action. Why not? Wei asked calmly. Isn't that how most of you secured your positions? The difference is, we're not asking for dominion over anyone else, just the respect we're due. Ambassador Mbeki continued. These terms are not negotiable. You have 24 hours to accept. If you refuse, Earth will establish permanent interdiction zones around all jump points in Alliance space. Your worlds will remain isolated, perhaps for years, while we negotiate separately with each member species. The threat hung in the air. The Alliance had always maintained power through unity. If Earth could separate them, deal with them individually. And if we agree to these terms, Thosren asked, his voice subdued for the first time. Then the blockade ends. The interdiction fields are withdrawn. Trade and communication resume. Wei's expression remained firm. But any violation of the new treaties will result in immediate and permanent isolation of the offending world. Back aboard the Nightshade, Captain Reyes received updates from across the blockade. Most worlds were complying, recognizing the futility of resistance. But not all. "Captain, we have a situation at Graxis 4, Lieutenant Kowalski reported. Their defense fleet is attempting to break the blockade. They're targeting our drones." Elena studied the tactical display. Graxis 4, a militant colony world known for its aggressive stance. Deploy the shadows. Authorized to use displacement fields if they continue their approach. 3 smaller vessels detached from the Nightshade, accelerating toward the Graxis fleet. Unlike the main battleships, these shadow craft were designed for direct engagement. They could phase in and out of normal space, appearing seemingly from nowhere to strike. The Graxis commander received one warning: return to orbit or be removed from this reality. They didn't heed it. When the shadows engaged, the battle lasted less than 5 minutes. 3 Graxis warships vanished without trace. The rest retreated. Word of the encounter spread quickly. No further resistance was attempted. On Earth, citizens watched the news with mixed emotions. Liberation from alien oversight had been celebrated, but the means troubled many. Military capability that could isolate entire planets. Technology that could remove ships from existence. Had humanity become what they had fought against? Dr. Okafor voiced these concerns during an emergency session of Earth's Unify Council. "We created Umbra as a shield, not a weapon," she argued. "Using it to hold worlds hostage crosses a line we may not be able to uncross." Admiral Hassan replied wearily, "They crossed that line first, Aisha. What would you have had us do? Continue to watch our people suffer under their heel?" "Of course not. But there's a difference between standing up for ourselves and becoming the new tyrants." The debate continued across Earth as the deadline approached on Meridian Prime. In the final hour, the Alliance Council reconvened. High Chancellor Thosren looked diminished, his usual arrogance replaced by grim acceptance. "We have reviewed Earth's terms," he announced. "While we find them severe, we recognize the reality of our position. The Alliance accepts." Commander Wei nodded, betraying no emotion. "A wise decision, Chancellor. Ambassador Mbeki will remain to oversee the implementation of the new treaties. The blockade will be lifted in phases, beginning with humanitarian and trade vessels." As the formalities concluded, Councillor Vex of the Arcturan Federation, one of the few who had opposed the exploitation of Earth, approached Wei privately. "I admit, Commander, I never thought to see the Alliance humbled in my lifetime. But I must ask, what happens now? Power shifts like this rarely end peacefully." Wei studied the ancient alien. "That depends on whether the lesson has been learned. Earth doesn't seek dominion, Counselor. We never did. We only wanted to be left in peace and treated with respect. And if that respect wanes with time, if some decide to test your resolve once the immediate threat has passed." Wei's expression hardened. "Then they'll discover that Operation Blackout was the least of what we prepared for during those 30 years. As the Earth vessels began withdrawing from their blockade positions, a new galactic order took shape. The Alliance reformed, with Earth holding the balance of power. The Sentinels emerged from isolation, establishing formal relations with humanity, while keeping the Alliance at arm's length. Captain Elena Reyes watched from the Nightshade as the first Alliance ships were permitted to jump from Meridian Prime. "Do you think they'll honor the treaties?" Kowalski asked. "For now," Elena replied. "Fear is a powerful motivator, but eventually it will be respect that maintains peace, or we'll be back where we started." She thought of Dr. Okafor's message. What have we done? The answer wasn't simple. They had secured Earth's freedom, but at what cost to their humanity? As the Nightshade set course for home, Alina composed a reply to her old friend. "We changed the galaxy, Aisha. Now comes the harder part, changing it for the better." Across the stars, humanity stepped into its new role, not as conquerors, but as equals demanding respect. The species that had once been dismissed as too emotional, too divided, too primitive had united when it mattered most. And the galaxy would never underestimate Earth again. The future remained unwritten. But for the first time since joining the galactic community, Earth would write its own chapters.